Hi, I'm Gil Benbrook from Phoenix Stages and TalkinBroadway.com, and I am here with three of the leads of Showboat at Arizona Broadway Theater. First, we have Jamie Parnell, who plays Gaylord Ravenal, Brittany Santos, who plays the beautiful Magnolia, and Earl Hazell, who plays Joe. So before I ask you guys some questions about the show and about the production here at ABT, first I just want to give a little background. Showboat premieres on Broadway and overnight becomes this landmark musical. And the fact that it was the first, if not the first, show on Broadway to truly combine drama with comedy, and also feature a wide range of characters, including both white and African American roles, which the first time I believe that you had a show on Broadway that had both actors together. Mm-hmm. Every musical before then was really a light operetta like Gilbert and Sullivan, or a musical review like the Ziegfeld Follies. And in that way, Showboat truly was like the Hamilton of its time. Mm-hmm. It changed everything. So Earl, not only is this a classical musical, but it's 91 years old.
Right.
But as we were talking beforehand, it's a show that really hasn't been done a lot. The last time it was done in New York was over 25 years ago.
Indeed, yeah.
And I can't tell you the last time that I've seen a production of this show. Mm-hmm. I mean, it probably was on Broadway. So for people who haven't seen the show, what can you tell them that Showboat is about?
Sure. It really begins around 1884 to 1886. And to put you in the proper frame of mind, that's really about 20 years after the Civil War, where America is in tatters and ready to rebuild itself. And you got to think this is before Netflix, before Hulu, before television itself, before movies, where a country rebuilding itself and wanting entertainment to express its own art forms is looking in the community and without, but is still just getting it off the ground. The Showboat that would come down the Mississippi was that form of entertainment that people would look forward to every year at that time. That would be the one time, today we're inundated with music, we're inundated with entertainment. There was no entertainment.
It was like a rare treat for the Showboat to show up on the banks of your city, right?
It was a rare treat to just have music playing,
yeah.
For someone to be playing a player piano or something. The level of silence and absence of performing arts at that time is something we can barely conceive of now. So when something as magnificent as a huge ship coming down the Mississippi with actors and singers and musicians and dancers would come, it was the event of the year. So you basically want to start there to get a feel of how meaningful the Showboat was and how dramatic the lives were of the people on the boat.
So Brittany, since this show isn't done a lot, when you were casting the show, how much did you know about it, and what kind of research did you have to do to prepare for your role?
Yeah, well, I didn't know much about it. I had seen a regional production of it when I was a kid. My mom took me, and funnily enough, I didn't remember the character of Magnolia. I remembered Julie and I remembered Joe, but I couldn't recall the love story in the show. So I did go back and watch the movie versions and everything just to kind of refresh my memory. But mostly what helped me was reading the novel, reading the Edna Ferber novel that came just before the musical.
Yeah, right
it's kind of like the musical came immediately after the book gained popularity. So that novel, it was extremely helpful because it is extremely detailed in the way it describes life on the Showboat, describes Magnolia's personality. It's written from her perspective. So that was basically the main thing that I did to get a further glimpse into what the character was all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jamie, not only was the show important because, like I said, it combined all these different elements, but it also focused on a lot of heavy issues. So how do you think the show's themes and the focus on these serious issues still feels relevant today?
I think that's unfortunately one of our constants.
Yeah.
We constantly, as humans, need to strive to work past these darker parts of ourselves and of our cultural mindset. There's more of an open discussion and an acceptance of addiction issues, and so I think all of these topics are still incredibly relevant.
So what kind of how does your background and training prepare you for a role like this musically?
Well, the great thing about this is that since this musical opened in 1927, it opened at a time where the differences between the genres were far slighter than they are today. You know, jazz in 1927 was a little more than 30 years old, you know, and the relationship of the musical to operetta was very intimate.
Was right there.
Yeah, it was just really right
Yeah.
there. And operetta comes from grand opera itself. So all of these forms that we think of now as just being completely independent were very, very much close together. So having experience and training that I have in these different areas actually helped me a great deal for the work in and of itself. It's not as much of an intellectual leap as it may seem.
So Brittany, your character Magnolia, like I mentioned, all of you ages 40 years throughout the show. You start out at 16, you end up with little gray in your hair at 56. You know, it's a character that goes on quite a journey. So what is it like preparing that? Because really, you're the character that to me changes the most throughout the show.
I agree. She does get to go through such a wonderful arc throughout the show, and honestly, it's a treat because as a soprano, you know, a lot of the ingenue roles are written to be the love interest, and you kind of bat your eyelashes, and it's like a nice, you know, I love you, you love me. That's all I do in the show. So the fact that not only is this one of the oldest musicals we have, but also one of the more complex female roles as far as like golden age musical theater goes, is kind of amazing when you think about it.
So Jamie, you know, we keep talking about how this is an epic story or epic musical. So what do you feel that when you perform it each night, and how do you feel like this production strikes the right balance between the epic history of the piece and the personal stories of the characters in it?
When you get an arc and when you get a storyline of 40 years, I mean, that's what I had said originally. You know, they offer you the role and they said, would you be interested in taking it? And I was like, well, of course I would. That would be ridiculous to not. No one does this. I think there's no way to not feel the epic nature of such a story. I mean, as we'd spoken about before, there's so many themes of gravity in this show, but then there's also, you do get the comedy, you get the light dance numbers, you get the history in terms of the Showboat is a melodramatic vaudeville show, you know, that goes around, and then you get to see those moments too. So you have the jazz, you have the classical music, you have the vaudeville, you have the comedic duos back and forth.
And some killer dancers on this show.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Well, you get to see all the on-stage performance numbers. You get to see like the backstage, you know, background performance pieces, you know, giving a little more in-depth of the
You
characters.
do, and you also get what's fantastic is, you know, the show opens with day one of rehearsal. I was sitting in a separate room, but I was hearing them sing, and it was just the sheer amount of gorgeous sound that was coming out of that room from the beginning. So many beautiful voices, and so you have that just as a wall of sound. That's
some
it-
great harmonies.
yeah.
in
I
this
mean,
show.
you feel it, but then you have the moments of simplicity as well. I mean, you get the whole gamut. This show, when they wrote it and when they put it together, I think they kind of hit every nail that you can hit. Obviously, I mean, it rewrote the art form. It wrote a new rule book.
What makes ABT special? You know, and Earl, you live just across town. You guys live out of state, obviously, but you live just across town. So, what took you so long to make the drive here from Tempe?
Tempe, right?
Yeah, and what keeps on bringing you guys back to ABT? So,
Sure. Well, for me, it's a great question because you know it's kind of funny how you don't always appreciate what's in your own backyard. So we kind of had this tendency to go point A, point B, and not realize the little jewels, you know,
that are just
in the
across
area.
town.
Yeah, that are just right across town. Combine that with the fact that I tend to still work nationally and internationally. I haven't done as much work at home outside of working with Arizona Opera, such that I would even realize that there's the opportunity to work with a great company such as this.
Well,
So-
and this is a great role to make your debut here at ABT.
And this is a
Really.
wonderful company to do it with. You know, it's so many good people here. I was treated like family pretty much from my first day here. Yeah, so it's really great people, and it's been really wonderful experience for me.
Great. And what about you two?
Well, I think similar to what Earl said, I think when you come to work here for the first time, I came here for the first time to play Maria in West Side Story. I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I didn't know anyone here. I didn't know anything. I think you're welcomed very warmly when you come here, and I feel like everyone takes care of each other. And also just the fact that ABT does a huge season of amazing shows, and they're all musicals. I mean, like, you don't get that. As a performer, that's like hitting gold. I mean, because there's always the season that has plays or has other things, and it's just musicals, and it's so they always pick great material and great things that just keep you wanting to come back and do more. So
Including doing a show like this, which
Exactly.
is hardly rarely done.
Exactly.
Yeah, quite often, dinner theater in people's minds is a very different experience than what ABT offers. It's more refined. I think the product is something they can be very proud about. But then the shows as well. Not only do they do their homework in the auditions and making sure that the casts are cohesive and the companies work together, but the designers and the people they have behind the scenes.
Here we are on this beautiful showboat that we're
is-
standing on right here.
It's quite a thing to be able to be on a stage and to get to wear these costumes where you feel like $1 million. I mean, you really do. But then you're walking on this stage that you can feel the collective gasp of the audience when the lights come up and when the curtain comes up, and they go, "Wow!" That's not something you get in a lot of places. There is pride in every single aspect of what they do here. The performers also feel a great sense of pride in being able to come back and saying, I remember this from 10 years ago. I remember this from 5 years ago. They've created something incredibly special, and I don't know of a single person that's been on this stage who doesn't feel honored to be here. And that's what keeps me coming back. I've made lifelong friends here.
Well, thanks, guys. Jamie, Brittany, Earl, thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Showboat here at Arizona Broadway Theater runs through February 10th.